Right on. Okay, AP Stats, we're on section 1.3b, so we're going to get started. All right, here we go. All right, here we go. I shouldn't have joked out like that. So when we go, Jared, come on. When we go, we know we're in the 50th percentile, which would be 8, okay? So this is the middle value, okay? Middle value in this case. Now, as we go down, that's important because we're going to look at this thing called IQR, okay? IQR is the same thing as interquartile range. All right, that's where we're headed. Interquartile range. To find this, what we do is we divide the data in half. So if 8 was, for instance, the center, the 50th percentile, I'm going to take the values, let me use a different color. I'm going to take the values from the start all the way to the center, not including the center, and I'm going to find in that instance what the median of the first 50% would be. What we call that is Q1. Okay? So again, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to cross that out, cross this out, and I'm going to go backwards just like I did earlier. And when I do that, you probably would note I get two values here, both at 0. Got me? So that means that what is my median of my first 50th percentile? 0, right? So what we say is 0 is actually equal to Q1, which is my first quarter. In fact, what do we call that in terms of what percentile would that be? 25th percentile. Good. Good, good. All right? Is everyone good on that? Cool, Fiona.
That was on our quiz that we just took.
It was. I'm going to use that as a challenge question. Because if I haven't talked about it,
Yeah.
so I'll use that as a challenge question. Good question.
What do you mean by challenge question?
A bonus.
Like a bonus?
Bonus,
Okay.
yeah. A lot of times I'll use challenge or something. But yeah. Eric,
What is the SOT?
the what was that again? This right here? This is 50th right here.
Soft for the soft.
Soft, yeah, I made that up. Yeah. 50th percentile. Now, as we look at Q3, you probably know and could probably tell me based on the podcast, we're going to do the same thing. So I'm going to do it except on the second 50th percent. Okay? So as we go, you'll notice again, I cross them off as we head towards the middle. And you'll notice we get 2, one that's at 11 and one that's at 15. And when I have 2 in that instance, how do I find what the actual Q3 is, Grace?
You add them together and you divide it by 2.
So the average.
Good. So the average would be what, Jared?
What was it? 14. Was it 15 and 11? So
15
13.
and 11. 13. Good. So 13 would be Q3, which would be what percentile?
75th.
75th percentile. That's very important. Okay?
So you don't cross out the median.
You do not, in this instance, when I find the median, if there's one value, what we do for the Q1 and Q3 is we take that out and we divide it up anything to the right and left of it. Now, if there were 2 values that you average together, Yvonne, then you would have one go one way and one go to the other when we did the Q1 and Q3. It's a great question. Jared.
So in this data, is it not possible to have anything less than the 25th percentile? Because 0 is 25th.
Say that one more time.
It's not possible to have the 20th percentile on here, right? Because you have 0. They're all zeros.
It's a good point. There's not a whole lot of points on here. Our sample size is pretty low. So you're, in some regards, yeah, we share kind of the 25th. We share these percentiles, don't we?
Okay, yeah.
So I get where you're coming from. But just know that 25% of the data does fall to the left of 0.
Okay.
And 75 or 75% of the data falls to the left of 13. Does that make sense? If you kind of understand that, then
Yeah, I was just wondering if it's possible
good
to have 20, like the 20th percentile on this data.
Yeah, because they kind of share it, don't they?
Oh, yeah.
I would say that between 0 and whatever that would be the percentile for 0. Good question. Okay, so we found what Q1 and Q3 are. Now we're going to keep going. We're going to do this thing called a box and whisker plot, okay? You pretty much have already hit it. It's our kind of our 7th or like our additional one when we're talking about quantitative, all right? So this is a quantitative graph. All right, there's strengths and weaknesses to this, but just know that this would be a box and whisker plot here, okay? Or a box plot. Now, as we look at this, what was the minimum value? 0. What was Q1? 0. Good. What was the median? 8. Nice. Q3?
13.
13. And maximum? 19. These right here is called our 5-number summary. You might want to write that down. This is our 5-number summary. If you hear something like that, that's what we're referring to. So at each of these spots, we're going to have something that occurs. So we're going to start off by, with our minimum value, we're going to put a line where 0 is. Okay? That's check 1. Check 2 is we're going to put where our first Q1 is. In this case, it would be where? 0, which is right on top of where that minimum value is, but that's okay. The next thing we have is what we call our what? Median, which would be at 8. So I'm just going to put a line that goes right in there as well. Q3 would be 13, so I'm going to put a line right there. And maximum would be 19. I'm going to put a line here. Okay? Now, the box that's in here, a box and whisker plot traditionally would look something like this. We have a line that comes in, we have a box, and then we have it go out to a maximum. That box right there represents the middle what percent?
50.
Good win. Middle, 50%. Nicely done. Okay? Middle 50%. But you'll notice that as we look at this, if this is Q1, right, and this is Q3, and this is the median, that right there would actually be our box and whisker. You'll notice it doesn't have a whisker on this side. Why?
Because it's also the middle.
Good, Ivana. It is the exact same thing as Q1. So because of that, they'll share that. And this is kind of a little bit more abnormal here. Now, the whisker on this would go all the way out to about 19, and it would stop about at 19. Okay? Good stuff. Questions on how I made that? Now, could I describe this with socks?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, I could if I looked at this, right? What's the shape? Skewed right, good right. What is the center? 8. What is the spread? 19, good. And why would I use 19 Torrance and not standard deviation? Rock. Good. It's skewed. We're going to use range more or less on that, okay? All right, what is the top, I'm trying to think of good questions. I guess the big thing that I would say is this. Do you understand the percentages? Like, this would be the 50th percent, right? Percent of data fall to the left of this. 50% falls to the right of that, right? And we're rocking. Rita, did you have a question for me?
Yeah, if it's in the middle, like the box part, would it be symmetrical?
Yeah, it would be, I would say it's approximately symmetric. You'll notice, though, it's a little tough to see what the shape is, isn't it? It's a little more tough on this. That's a negative of a box plot. But what I like about it is you can still see kind of where the data is. You see where the percentiles are, which is the strength of it, okay? Does anyone know what IQR is? In a quartile range, what would be the IQR here?
Q1 13.
Good, Tony.
Bingo,
Q3
Tony.
minus Q1, and that's here. So that would be, in this case, 0 subtracted from 13. Interquartile range means from Q3 to Q1. So we'd say 13 minus 0, which would be 13. Okay, don't confuse that with range.
Can you have like a negative? Wait, that doesn't make sense. Never mind.
You could have a negative. If you ended up having data where you had negatives,
Yeah.
it's possible to have that. You would still just say this minus this. So it's the distance. If you want to think of distance, that's okay. So if you had if this went to -3, it'd be 13 minus -3, or 13 plus 3, which would be 16. Would be the range. It's a good question. Good question, Josh. All right, real quick. What percentage is related to the median? Real quick. 50. What percentage is related to Q1? 25. This is a great AP question. I've seen this on a lot of tests. What percentage is related to Q3? 75, and you're good. And the IQR represents the what?
Interquartile range.
Which is what percent?
The middle 50.
Good, Emily. It's the middle 50%. And I heard a lot of people say it, but that's good stuff. All right, outlier. Now, this has been really interesting here. We've talked over this. I've got 2 minutes, so I won't hit it completely, but I want to address it at least quickly here, okay? When we talk about an outlier, sometimes we would say, oh, there's that point out there that I think is an outlier. We haven't talked about that this is an outlier. We have formulas to help us with this, okay? To do this, we're going to take the following formulas here and here, and you're going to need to memorize those. Those are not on the formula sheet, okay? Now, to talk about the smallest value, we take the following formula. Q1 minus 1.5 times IQR. So if I took a value, Q1 was what again?
0.
Minus, and we'll talk about this later, got me? Friday, we're going to continue on this, and then we will review. and we'll rock and roll. Sound good? We will rock and roll. Be blessed, y'all. See ya. Have a good one.
What are your visions now or something?
No, I'm an elementary teacher.
Oh, your
But
literal
my kids are in the
kids.
village, so yeah, I have skateboard.
Elementary tutor. So you've never told us what we do with these tickets, Coach Joe.
I know I'm waiting because they keep changing my classes. People are switching all over the place. I'll probably do that early next week. That's what I've kind of decided.
For this
I
career
just know to
training, like,
collect them. I'm assuming they're good.
I still have some questions. I know
You got like 4 of them at like one day.
You want to turn it in sometime today?
Yeah.
That's fine.
Okay.
It's absolutely fine.
What each ticket? I would like that would be fun. I could like 80 in the class.
See Fiona.
Hey Josh, wait for me, Josh.
Ivana, have a good day.
You too. I feel like at the end of the year or something, we should like count all of our tickets, and he should add like a fourth of a point onto our final grade for each ticket that we have.
So if I have 20 tickets, I get 5 points out of my overall grade.
Yes.
Is that what we should do?
That is what you should
That's
do.
too much though, I think. Like it should be like an 8th or a 10th.
Why are you? No.
Because you already have 20 tickets. You already have 5 points extra. It is the second week of school. I've had some people get like 110.
Oh, so it does do that.
What's that?
It does that under the grade?
No, I
No,
don't.
no, no, no. I'm saying like 110 tickets. So if we did that,
Oh.
that would
We
be
should.
insane.
Okay, we
I
can
think
add
it
them onto
110
our
like
test
overall
grades.
Test grades?
Test grades. Or quiz grades, whichever the person
Did everyone get this, Charles?
Yeah, I think so.
Cool. I saw you getting after the I saw you like that video.
Yeah.
Your response? I love it. Just good truth. I really believe in it, you know? Do you go and do a church that like what type of church do you go to? Do you,
I'm a Seventh-day Adventist, but it's kind of like that.
yeah?
Yeah, it's a lot of old hymns and
We used to play at an Adventist school called, have you ever heard of Atlanta Adventist Academy?
yeah.
The AAA, and do you know what their mascot is?
No, I actually don't.
Aardvark. An aardvark.
So they just had an aardvark just
Yes.
strolling.
This is like an anteater.
Alright.
I'm like, wow. We always give them a hard time.
There are so many weird mascots.
There are weird ones. That was probably the weirdest I've ever played against, though.
Sometimes
I respect
they have,
it.
They have mascots that aren't even like mascots. Like, they're like
Yeah. I hear you on that one. We got this. We got this. Celeste, do you remember if I know we hit off this one. Do you remember if we went through, did we go over that yet?
We did not, we didn't do the DDS
That's right.
thing
That's
on
right.
the homework guide.
Gotcha. And also, did you turn in your homework by chance?
I put it over there, I
On the
saw
left
it as a 0, but,
That's fine. I just didn't check it yet,
okay.
so I'll go and get it. I knew a couple of you did, and that's fine. It's fine then. Hey, Grace, do you want a stamp? I can help you. Do you want a stamp today? Yeah, Grace, got you. Mary Grace, I'm sorry. I messed up, and there it is, right there. Did you see my stamp? Today I got Ryan. I like stamped her homework. I like stamped it a couple times, you know? Was it weird coming in on Wednesday, like having the short classes today? Or like having the weird day today?
Wait, so do we have chapel after this class? It's in the PA. No, it's
Did you all like the PAC?
Yeah, she did. It was pretty good. It was different from what we're used to, but
I think it's hard sometimes to have chapel in the gym. Because it's like, you think of a gym like, that's where, you know, we have different things going on, like fun stuff, you know? So I think sometimes it's a challenge.
Sneezers.
You may.
man,
Yes, ma'am.
You gonna podcast today?
I gotta stop the last one. Sometimes I'll let him go